Function calling is one of the most powerful features you can use inside of an AI voice agent, but it is also one of the most confusing, especially when you are starting out. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly how it works, step by step in plain English. We'll cover what function calling means, how to set up webhooks, how to format parameters properly, and how to structure the JSON so that the whole system runs smoothly. And at the end, I'll show you a live example. We'll build a function inside of Retell AI on how to handle failed call transfers by creating a task inside of a CRM. So you can exactly see how all the pieces come together. If you're new to the channel, then welcome. My name is Mark and I help businesses all over the world save tens of thousands of dollars a year using AI. So if you'd like to explore how we can do something similar for your business, you can use the first link down below to book a free AI consultation call. I'm limiting the spots to only 3 people per video, so I hope to see you there. And now let's dive straight into this. So the first question you may be asking yourself is, what is a function and what's function calling? Usually your AI voice agent already sounds pretty good, it can speak to the person, but it doesn't have any functions. And by functions I mean tools. For example, booking, doing call transfers, ending the call, and a bunch more things we'll touch on later. But that's essentially what a function is. Okay, so there are 3 types of functions. We have a pre-call function, a in-call function, and a post-call function. All are very important to a real-world voice agent. So let's start with a pre-call function. So with pre-call functions, it happens before the call. So for example, when someone calls the business, in this case the agent, there will be a workflow, a scenario that runs, checks, for example, this CRM, and inside of the CRM, if the contact already exists, it will trigger a different agent. So for example, if we already know the name, email, their budget, for example, or any other specifications, we'll not ask any details. But if we don't know that, if they are not inside of the CRM, we'll trigger a different agent, and that agent will collect information. So the only thing that the agent has access to is the caller's phone number, and obviously what I just explained was what it's for. It's for call memory and identifying or verifying callers. So in-call functions, this is what you see most often with tutorials like booking, transferring, canceling, rescheduling, etc. And the only thing that it has access to is anything discussed or gathered on the call up to that point. So for example, the name, the email address, and if they want to book a meeting, the time and day they would like to book a meeting. So obviously it was for booking meetings, canceling or rescheduling meetings, creating tasks, getting information in the CRM, transferring calls, sending links or other info, for example, for a e-commerce business, and many more. It really depends on what the business needs and your specific use case. Okay, and so we also have post-call function calling. So it has access to the whole conversation up until that point and all the data related to it. This is most commonly used for uploading data into a CRM or maybe a Google Sheet, as you've seen with a lot of my tutorials, logging calls, and generating reports, which is really useful for specific businesses. Also sending info to the business or the caller afterwards. And here I have an example of a project I did recently with Go High Level, and this contains all the types of functions you can have. So in this case, we're using Go High Level. So whenever the call starts, it will check Go High Level, so pre-call function. So if the contact exists, it will not collect info. If it doesn't exist, it will collect info, name, email, preferences, budget, etc., etc. And after that, we have some in-call function calling. So in this case, the business wanted to transfer calls and have multiple conversational paths. For example, a commercial request, and then with a commercial request we qualified them and then scheduled a online appointment. We could also do technical requests. So, for example, they are already a customer, which we would know beforehand, of course. So this is specific for repairs and maintenance. And here we schedule a in-person appointment. I can go a lot more in detail with this. If you have any questions about this project, just leave them down below. So also cancel and reschedule appointments, and also Q&A. So we also attached a knowledge base, a very large knowledge base to the assistants. And also after the call, we had a analysis. The business didn't specifically want a report or anything like that. The only important thing is that the info was logged inside of the CRM, and also that we had an overview of all the calls that were made. Okay, so now you know what function calling is, what types of function calling there are, and also I showed you an example of how it all would work together, but how does it actually work? So for example, with appointment booking, whenever the lead has set their name, email, and also the date and time they would like to book, and confirm they want to book an appointment, a webhook will be triggered. So webhook, excuse my poor drawing, I'm using my mouse. But whenever the webhook is triggered, it will run in the backend. So it will first look maybe for available times. Backend. It will look for available times, or actually book the appointment. And then you will see a response. So we always have a webhook response saying this action was performed successfully. So the AI knows that it has been successful or not. So for example, when it has failed booking the appointment, it can give alternative available times. Okay, and so now we have the key components. And after this, we'll hop into Retell and Make, and I'll show you how to actually create the functions. So here we have the key components. I've already touched on them a little bit, but let's go over to webhooks, so you know what a webhook is. I got this analogy from Tommy Christ. Be sure to look him up on YouTube. He makes really valuable content. But quoted, think of a webhook like a digital mailbox. Your voice agent mails instructions to a specific address, the webhook URL. Inside the message is parameters used for what it wants to done, like date and time for booking. Your backend opens the message, does the job, and sends a reply. And essentially, it transfers data from one point to another to keep it really simple. Also, we have headers and parameters. If you work long enough with voice agents, you will deal with headers. But in most cases, when you're starting out building a demo or just trying it out, you will only deal with parameters. And parameters are details your agent adds to the message which is sent to the webhook. For example, schedule a call for James for Wednesday 10 a.m. So the parameters in this case would be name, time, and day. And of course, you can add as many as you want depending on the conversation. And headers, for example, if you have a CRM, in this case, we'll use Go High Level, which I use a lot myself. You will need the API key and also the format of how you want to send the data, which is really specific to each CRM or software. But we'll touch that in another video. And lastly, we have JSON. JSON is the structure your message must follow. It is a way to organize data so that your system understands it. Instead of writing, hey James, wants to schedule a demo at Wednesday 10 a.m., it will look like this. So name, James, day, Wednesday, time, 10 a.m. The same as we had with parameters. And this is the actual output in JSON formats. And basically your system doesn't understand this example, but it does understand this JSON schema, as it is called. And we are like only scratching the surface with everything I just explained, but this will give you a really good foundation to build on. So now let's hop over to Retell and Make, and I'll actually show you how it works. Okay, so right here, I've just built a really simple agent with only one function, and that is creating tasks. As I mentioned before, this can be used to schedule callbacks whenever, in this case, the business owner is available. So the whole purpose of this agent is to let the lead know that the business owner is not available, and they can schedule a callback from the business owner if they want. And so for a little example, I would go to tests, chats, mail chats, and it will say, hello, thank you for calling. Mark Bresser, in this case, the business owner, is currently out of office. Would you like us to call you back when Mark is available? If so, I can arrange that for you right now. Yes, sounds good. And normally this would be done through the voice, but my phone is actually recording this, so we'll have to do it with this. Yes. Presser. Okay, and then you saw that the tool has been activated. So the customer name is Mark Bresser. Normally this would only be the first name. And thank you, Mark Bresser. I've arranged for you to receive a callback when Mark is available. Maybe the names are a bit confusing, but you get the idea. If you need anything else, please let me know. And if you go to make, you can see that a workflow has been triggered. And so to explain this workflow briefly, I've already made a video about this workflow, which I will link in the description below. So if you are interested in this workflow and implementing it for your business or just for yourself, be sure to check that video out. And so here we have the webhook, as I've explained before. And this is basically the tool name. And the only thing we extract is the customer name. In this case, I just said Mark Bresser. Then it will search the contacts inside of the CRM. In this case, go high level. It can be any CRM in this case. And then either create a contact or create a task inside of the CRM for a callback. And then we also have a webhook response to the agent to let the agent know if it has succeeded or not. And if I go here, body, the task has been created. So the agent knows that the task has been created. And here you can see that it was successful because it said the right thing. Okay, and now how do you actually create this? So whenever you want to create a function, you see here a functions tab. You open this up. Okay, and then you click on add, and here you can see a bunch of possible functions. I always include end call, and if I build any functions, it will be custom function. I don't like the native integration with Kali.com because it isn't as flexible and there's a high chance that it will mess up. Okay, so when you click on custom functions, you will see this. And if I enter my own function that I created before, is that I gave the name create task, and here in the prompt you also want to specify which function it needs to run. In this case, it was create task. And then you have to give a description, basically context for the AI to know when to trigger this function. So here you can see that I said whenever the user wants to have the business call them back, this will create a task inside of the CRM. And with this really small prompt, basically one sentence, it is very obvious to when it should trigger the tool. And we also have API endpoints, which basically means the webhook. So if you have a webhook inside of Make or N10 or Zapier, or even Go High Level, or any other CRM that has automations, you can copy the webhook to the API endpoint right here, as I've done before, and that enables Retell to send data to Make or any other platform, as I mentioned before. Headers we are not going to touch. In the future, I'll create a video on how to do this and when to do this. For now, it doesn't really matter because we don't need permission to send data through. Okay, and lastly, we have parameters. So in this case, we have a JSON schema. I prefer JSON instead of form. Form I will just explain in a second. But essentially, what you have here is a JSON schema, and you can send data through here. So type, object, properties. In this case, the only property is customer name, and the description is the user's name. So it will send the user's name to a platform like Make, as you've seen before, right here. But you can also, which is more beginner friendly, use forms. So in this case, just this JSON schema, if I transform it into a form, it says here customer name, the user's name, to make your life a whole lot easier. And also you can speak during the execution or speak after. I always leave it speak after the execution, because the AI tends to say the line twice. For example, I'm booking the appointment, and then after a couple seconds it says I'm booking the appointment. Or in this case, if it's second available time, let me check that for you, let me check that for you. So I always leave that off and just prompt it inside of the prompts if it needs to say something whenever it is booking the appointments. Okay, that was it for this video. It's just a beginner overview of what function calling is, some theory, and how to do it. All the resources in this video, such as the JSON schema, also the template, will be in my school community. Second link in the description. And if you are a business owner and want to implement AI voice agents inside of your business, click the first link down below. Again, we limit the spots to only 3 people per video, so I hope to see you there, and otherwise I'll see you in the next one.